Driving a Tesla is next level ridiculous, and in today's video I'm going to show you all the awesome things that combine together to make it an absolutely amazing experience. So first up is something that's just extremely convenient, and that is being able to turn on the heating or cooling in your car before you go out to your car. Now, it might seem a little bit gimmicky, but believe me when I say it's handy. So let's have a look. On my phone, as you can see right now, we have climate is currently 28 degrees in the car, which is not super hot, but it's warm. I just go turn on climate, and all of a sudden the aircon will turn on and it'll get the car down to 22.5 degrees, which as far as I'm concerned is pretty glorious. So the next thing that makes it absolutely awesome to drive is the fact that these cars can be charged up from your solar panels completely for free. So at the moment I have my car plugged in, charging up from my solar panels completely for absolutely nothing. That is $0 to charge this car up. Once you actually get used to this, it's amazing because you're not lining up at service stations, you're not making sure you get there on a Tuesday because that's the cheapest day. You literally just plug your car in when the sun's out like it is today and you charge it up completely for free. Okay, so now I'm in the car. It's a beautiful 22 degrees in here at the moment, and it's handy to get into a nice cool car, particularly if you've left your car out in the sun and come back to it after a long day. It's going to be cooking, so it's nice to be able to pre-cool it, and if you're in cold climates, to be able to preheat it rather than coming out to a freezing cold car would also be pretty convenient. Another one of the great things about this car is that it's got two wireless charging pads. So just down here under the screen there are two pads there, so you literally just put your phone in there, and providing your phone's got wireless charging, it'll just start charging automatically, which is pretty convenient, not having to clip it into dash mounted cases or anything like that. It's great. Drop your phone in there, charges while you're driving, pick it up when you get out, and you're good to go. So the next thing might divide people a little bit, but I personally love the minimalist interior. So all we have is literally the screen, the steering wheel. There's a stalk on the left side for indicators, a stalk on the right side for gears, and scroll buttons on the steering wheel, and that is it. There are no buttons for your glove box, there are no adjusters for your vents. All of that is taken care of on the touch screen, and I love the fact that it's so simple to navigate through and do everything that you want to do on the touch screen rather than having lots of knobs and buttons all throughout the car. Just before we get driving, one other thing that I didn't show you is the fact that I don't have a key for this car. So you can have key cards which you tap on the outside on the pillar to let yourself in and lock it as well, but with the app on my phone I don't have any need for that. So the car simply detects my phone and it unlocks when I get close so that I can open the door, and when I walk away it automatically locks after I leave. So there's no need for fiddly keys or fobs or anything like that. It's all just handled in my phone, which is super convenient. For times when I might be concerned about my phone going flat or something like that, there is a key fob that I have, which is just like a standard thing that you press buttons on, and there is also a key card that you can use, which I keep in my wallet as a backup, but as yet I've never had to use it because the phone works great. Another thing that's really convenient is the fact that you have driver profiles. So for example, I rent my car out on TeslaHireWA.com, and that means that there are lots of different people coming to rent out my car on a daily and weekly basis. It's handy to keep my profile to myself. So the position of the steering wheel, the position of the mirrors, the position of the seat and how reclined and how far back and how close it is all saved to my profile. And I've got a separate profile called Hire, which allows people that when they use the key card that I provide them with and they tap that to unlock the car and to lock the car, that profile, they can change all the settings they want, the mirrors, the seats, the steering wheel, and it doesn't mess with my settings, so that when I come back and jump in the car, it's detected my phone, it remembers my profile, and everything's back exactly how it should be. Okay, so it's time to actually go for a drive, so let's see what that's like. Again, there are no buttons to press to start or ignition or anything like that. It literally is, you put your foot on the brake, it initializes, and you're good to go. Press down on the stalk to go forward, and away you go, and up on the stalk to go backwards, and away you go that way. Okay, so one of the things that's probably the not hardest thing to get used to about driving a Tesla, but certainly there's a learning curve to it, and that is 1 foot driving. So what that means is you very rarely actually use the brake. Now, if someone runs out in front of you, or a ball comes out in front of you, a kangaroo or something like that, you jam on the brake like normal. But in everyday driving, Teslas have regenerative braking. And what that means is as soon as you take your foot off the accelerator, the car will start slowing down, and it takes that energy and pumps it back into the battery to increase your range. Now, in a normal car, as soon as you take your foot off the accelerator, you just coast along for quite a while. So it takes a bit of getting used to, so that when you take your foot off the accelerator, that you coast only marginally, because the car is slowing you down with that regenerative braking. What that means is it actually makes for a much more enjoyable experience driving, I find, now that I'm used to it, because you very, very rarely use the brake pedal. So, off we go with driving, and coming up to a corner up here, I just take my foot off the accelerator gently, it slows us down to a stop. And then I go back on the accelerator, and away we go. So regenerative braking, after a little while you get used to how long or how fast it actually is at slowing you down, and when you need to take your foot off the accelerator to slow down enough to get to the curb or to the intersection or whatever it might be. Like I said, obviously you can just put your foot on the brake when you need it, but in all of my driving that I do, I reckon I would use the brake 5% of the time when I'm pulling up somewhere. So as you can see here, I went to tap the brake but didn't actually need it because I've stopped for the intersection. So I really like the regenerative braking. It's obviously great for helping improve your range with the energy getting pumped back into the battery. Now, the other thing you may or may not have noticed so far is just how quiet this car is. Now, I can't stress enough how amazing it is to drive in a car that's this quiet. There's no exhaust noise, there's no engine noise. The road noise is minimal because not only is there double pane glass here, the tyres all have foam inside them. So not filled up with foam, but there's a layer of foam inside the tyre, which also helps to dull down the outside noise even further. So it really does make for an amazingly quiet drive. If you want to put the radio on or stream podcasts or anything like that, you're not competing with outside noise from the exhaust and from the engine and from the road and things like that. So until you actually get in a Tesla and actually experience what it's like driving, it's kind of hard to understand just how quiet it actually is in one of these cars while you're driving. The other thing that absolutely blew me away when I got this car and continues to impress me is Autopilot. I figured it would be pretty handy to use and it would make driving a little bit easier, a little bit more enjoyable, and thought it would be kind of just like an advanced cruise control maybe. But it is absolutely in a league of its own compared to standard cruise control or things that lots of other cars have got. Now, don't get me wrong, I know there are other cars that have got traffic awareness, will slow down if there's a car in front of you and things like that. But while this is not a full self-driving car, what you actually get in the standard Autopilot package is amazing. So right now I'm driving on a road, curb on one side, double lines on the other, and I'm going to engage Autopilot. So this icon here shows that we can do it, and I'm going to engage it, double tap down on the stalk, and it's engaged. So while this icon here is blue, the car is driving itself. It's identified speed sign saying it's 60, so we're set to a maximum of 60 kilometers an hour. We're currently going 59. And I could take my hand off the steering wheel. I'm not steering it. I'm not using the pedals for braking or accelerating. You do need to keep your hand on the wheel for safety purposes, but it's completely driving itself. It identified a 50 speed sign, so that you can see there, it's slowed down to 50. The car in front is pulling out of the way, so it allows that to go out of the way and keeps me driving along in my same lane. Now, I'll just disengage that by touching the brake button. This is not full self-driving, so the car will not go through intersections or roundabouts or stop at stop signs or traffic lights or anything like that. So don't think that it's going to do everything for you. But what it does do really well is in suburbia, I don't use it a whole lot in suburbia, but in suburbia it will stay in your lane, it will keep you safe from other cars. I'm on a bridge right now, I'm going to engage it. It's a 50 zone, so it's going to slow down to 50 k's an hour. It's going to stay in my lane. As you can see here, it's identifying other cars that are around me. And I'm coming up to an intersection up here which has traffic lights on it, and there are no cars in front of me, so it will just continue going through here. If the light goes red, I'll obviously need to put my foot on the brakes, but the lights are still green, so we're going straight through. It goes slightly to the left, so the car handled that beautifully. Now there's a car in front of me, as you can see, and my car has slowed down completely. I'm not driving, I'm not brake or accelerating. It's just keeping me a safe distance from the car in front of me. And to be honest, it's the first time you drive with it, it's mind-blowing, the fact that it literally is driving itself, doing so much of this stuff that you would normally have to do yourself. So we're in the right lane here, and chances are someone up ahead is going to turn right, as they are, a couple of cars in front of me. So the car in front of me slows down, we slow down, we continue going again. Now the car directly in front of me is going to turn, and as you can see, it stops completely for the car. It'll wait until the car is out of the way. I'm not doing all this, by the way. The blue icon shows the car is driving itself, steering and pedals. Waits for the car to move out of the way, then continues to accelerate back up to the speed limit. So speed limit 60, currently we've got cruise set at 55. I'll give that a quick tap to 60, as you can see it updates it. Now it'll continue on within the lanes, making sure that we're driving at a maximum of 60 k's an hour and keeping us safe from cars either side and cars in front. I know I've already said it, but Autopilot really is amazing to drive with. Now on suburban streets like this, it's not a huge benefit because there's lots of... It's not really made for suburban driving. But when you're going on a big drive, and we quite often go down south, and people who hire our car quite often go down south to Bustleton and Dunsborough and Yallingup and places like that, driving the car long distances like that with Autopilot is absolutely enjoyable, and that's because you can sit on a highway or a freeway where the speed limit's 110 k's an hour, put it in Autopilot and know that you don't have to worry about speeding or going too fast or anything like that, because the car's going to keep you at the speed limit. It's not going to make you go over unless you decide that you want to set it to go over the speed limit. It's going to keep you at or below the speed limit. It's going to keep you in your lane. It's going to keep you a safe distance from cars in front of you. And you're going to arrive at your destination a lot more relaxed and a lot less fatigued, because you haven't had to be the whole time focusing on every single little thing, your speed, your lane change, all that kind of stuff. The car's doing a lot of the work for you. And until you actually experience it, it's kind of hard to understand just how much of a difference it makes when the car's making a lot of the important decisions for you. As we put up to this intersection, there's a truck in front of me. It's stopped. We can see the Autopilot is still engaged here. And as the truck takes off, the car will take off as well, and we'll follow it, continuing in this lane, continuing at a maximum of 60 kilometers an hour. So Autopilot really is one of the main things that makes driving a Tesla next level as far as I'm concerned. Okay, so I've just pulled over for a minute because I wanted to show you how the voice controls work. Now, there are other cars I know that have this as well, but it's extremely handy to have. So let's say I want to navigate to a place, or I want to put on a particular song on Spotify. Pressing the button on the steering wheel, play MC Hammer. So it's as easy as that to play any song that you want to play, or any radio station or any podcast. The car actually has its own data connection. So when you want to stream music from Spotify or stream podcasts or anything like that, it's using its own data connection. Similarly, when you're using navigation and it wants to reroute you to a different destination or a different way of getting there because of live traffic and there might be a crash on a freeway or something like that, it uses the car's data connection to handle all of that. So voice controls are great and extremely handy. Having its own data connection is also very convenient. So for example, let's say you pull up at a charging station and you are charging the car up and have 20 minutes to kill until you continue on to your destination. You can come in here to the arcade and you can play some games if you want. I've got an Xbox controller in the glove box as well, so you can pull that out and play for real, or you can use the steering wheel to control the driving games, for example. Or you can come into the theatre section and you can watch some Netflix or some YouTube or Twitch if you want to. So you can keep yourself entertained while you're charging, or if you're at the shops waiting for your significant other to finish their shopping, you can just sit here and entertain yourself. So now we've got the final two things that I think make driving a Tesla next level ridiculous. The second last one is servicing. So because there's no oil or gears or pistons or anything like that, servicing is almost completely non-existent. So when you're used to having a car serviced every 10,000 Ks or 6 months or 9 months or 12 months or whatever it might be, you might be paying $300, $500, $1,000 each time you go, sometimes more, to keep your car maintained. Well, the Tesla Model 3 that I'm driving right now, the only servicing it has is after 2 years, you need to replace an air filter. So that's about $170 service to replace an air filter after 2 years of driving. There are no other service requirements in between times. That's literally all there is. Obviously, there are things like tires that you go through like a normal car. Brake pads will need changing eventually, but like I said at the start, because you're very rarely using the brakes, they're going to last a whole lot longer on this car than they would in a normal car that you're using the brakes constantly. So servicing is another massive benefit, that you remove the cost completely or almost completely, and it makes it even more cost effective to drive one of these cars. Which leads me to my last and final point about why driving a Tesla is next level ridiculous, and that is the acceleration. Now, unless you've actually been in a Tesla, it's hard to comprehend what the acceleration is actually like, because in a normal car, when you put your foot down, it takes a little while for the power to kick in. Even if you've got a turbo, the revs need to wind up before the power actually gets going and you take off. In an electric car, because there are no gears and it's just all electric, there's no wind up, there's no waiting period, there is no delay. As soon as you put your foot down, the power kicks in and it's 100% on. That doesn't matter whether you are completely stationary or whether you are going 60 kilometers an hour. When you put your foot down on the accelerator, the car absolutely goes. This is the Standard Range Plus model, and it goes 0 to 100 in about 5.6 seconds, which, to be honest, is pretty crazy fast. The Performance model does it in 3.3 seconds, which is crazy fast, but for an everyday driving car, the acceleration this thing has is absolutely amazing, and there aren't a lot of cars out on the road that accelerate faster than this, even if you're talking about hotted up V8 Commodores and things like that. So we're in a lane here. We need to wait for the cars to get out of the way, and we'll have a chance here to show you just what the acceleration is like. As soon as I put my foot down, full acceleration, absolutely no delay whatsoever. So whether you are pulling out in oncoming traffic like that, whether you are overtaking a truck on a country road, that acceleration that is available from 0 to whatever speed you're doing, and the fact that it is completely on and completely active as soon as you press that accelerator, makes for an absolutely amazing experience. And if you haven't been in a Tesla and experienced what the acceleration is like, you need to try it out. It is absolutely amazing. We actually rent this car out. You can find out details about it on teslahirewa.com. A lot of people rent this car who are thinking about buying a Tesla and they want to spend some more time with it to see if it's for them. Other people test it out or hire it out because they just want to see what the hype is all about and whether it is actually as amazing as people say it is. And to be honest, it's that amazing and then some, particularly the acceleration. So there are a whole lot more things that make Teslas an absolutely next level car to drive, and I've really just gone through some of the main ones that I thought would be of interest to people who are considering a Tesla, who are interested in seeing what Teslas are all about and what makes them different to other cars. I hope you found it interesting and insightful. If you've got any questions about the car or features or functions, feel free to add them in the comments below. Hit the video with a thumbs up if you did enjoy it, and if you are interested in hiring out this amazing car, check out teslahirewa.com to see when it's available, and be sure to keep an eye out for the next video coming soon.